Hello! Today we're going to be drawing Monet's Water Lilies with Bridge, and it is inspired by Monet's series of paintings involving water lilies and also with the pond that he created outside one of his villas in France. It's a very beautiful place, lots of leaves and trees and different flowers and different plants, and we're gonna try to draw that today. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw a upside down U, kind of elongated U near the top. Now don't go too far up because this is going to be our bridge. Right underneath that we're going to draw another line. From here, we're going to draw our kind of like our posts for our bridge. So I'm doing two lines together. I'm going to do that all the way across. You want to make them about the same length all the way across. Now I'm going to draw another line just like this curved line. It's going to hit all of them on the top. If you go past, it's okay. You can always erase. Now I'm going to draw another line right above that. And this is our bridge. Below this, we're going to draw a line, kind of not right below it, but a little bit upwards into our bridge across. This is going to be our water. From here, we're going to add some of our water lilies in our lily pads. So first we're going to do our lily pads. So starting here, we're going to start by making them bigger, and as we go further back, we're going to make them smaller. So they're kind of like an upside down C shape. And then a V, and then you can kind of do them in different ways. They don't have to always have the V at the bottom. So as I go back, I just want to make sure I try to make them smaller. You have some in the middle. Kind of look like little Pac-Man. Alright. So now that we have our lily pads, we're going to add in our flowers. So starting on this one, I'm going to kind of make like a oval shape. And then I'm going to add some ovals next to it. Now you could do them on every single one of them, or you can change it up. I'm going to add not every single one, but as I go further back, my flowers are going to be a little bit smaller than the flower before. Now I'm going to add in some other stuff that might be in the pond. So this is a very plant-focused pond. So you could add some, some grass. So maybe along the side here. Imagine you looking into the pond and you see the grass along the side. You could even add some fish in here if you wanted to. Or frogs. That's totally up to you. So right now I'm adding some lines on my lily pads to make them look like more like leaves. So this drawing is really focused on details. So how can you make this look more like a pond? Now we're pretty much done with this bottom part. We're also going to add in some wavy lines to represent water. And then lastly, we're going to add some things on the top here. So behind our bridge is going to be some trees. So we're going to add some kind of fluffy kind of lines in the back for the trees. Now they don't go over the bridge. They're going to go between our little marks for the in between of our bridge. You can even add some grass back there. And that is my drawing. Next, I'm going to outline everything. You could even add in like clouds way in the back or even like a sun. I'm going to do a sun. Alright, so this drawing is going to be a combination of crayon and watercolor. Now, if you don't have watercolor, you can just do the whole thing in crayon or color pencil. I prefer that you don't use marker for this, just because it's a lot harder to blend colors with marker. So I've chosen a couple different greens here. So I would say try to use different greens rather than the same green. So I'm going to start coloring just my lily pads. So as we're coloring our lily pads, the lily pads that are closer to us are going to be brighter. And as we get further back, they are going to be darker. Alright, so now that I have my lily pads done, I'm going to pick out the color for my flowers. Now I'm going to choose pink, but you could do a different, you could do yellow, you could do purple. And we're going to color those in. So I chose pink. No! Crayons are trying to make a run for it. Next, I'm going to color my grass in the front. So again, I'm going to use a green. I'm not totally loving that color, so I'm actually going to take another color and put it on top to color blend. And I'm going to do that to the other side. Now I'm going to go up to the grass up here, and I'm going to do a darker color of green. I would say you want to stick to the greens only because we are doing like a pond, and grass is normally green. Then I'm going to color in my trees in the back. I'm going to take this light green, kind of go over the tree some. All right, so now I said we're not going to use marker to color everything, but I think for the bridge, we're going to use a marker. So I'm going to pick out a red. So you want to pick a bold color out. I'm going to choose red. And you're going to color that in. So pick a bold marker to color in your bridge. Now I wouldn't use green because we just use green on a lot of it. So maybe pink or yellow or purple. Any of those colors, something bright and bold. So if you don't have marker, you could use just another crayon. Figure we change it just to give it some more dimension. Alright, so before we move on to painting, I'm going to find a yellow. And I'm going to color in my sun. I'm also going to add some yellow back onto my lily pads, just to give them a little, like the sun is shining on them. So I'm pressing hard with the yellow, so you can see this is a little hard because this green is very yellow. You can even do that onto the grass a little bit, even onto your trees. It already has a little yellow on there. Next, we're going to add some color to our water. So with that yellow I just had, I'm going to kind of follow my same kind of lines. It doesn't have to be on the outline lines. It can just be some wavy lines in the water. And I'm going to do that with the greens. So we use a lot of green. I'm going to do that with a little bit of the pink. That's my flowers. I'm going to add another green. You want to kind of press hard with this while you're doing it. It is messy looking, but I'll show you at the end what it's going to look like. Now, I used red, so I'm going to find a red crayon. Now, if you used a different color for your bridge, you would use that color. So I'm going to add the red. And I'm even going to add some blue because our water is going to be blue. Now, if you don't have paint, you could color this in with the color of your water, which would be blue. So you could use crayon or color pencil. I'm going to be using paint. So right here I have a big brush, my paint, and I'm going to start off by using blue just on the water. So this is watercolor. Now if you pressed hard enough with your crayon, you should be able to see your crayon underneath. If you're using too much paint and not enough water, then it's going to look sticky, and you don't want sticky. You want it to be nice and watery. You could go over your lily pads if you want. It's up to you. The crayon acts like a resistant. So when you go over crayon, which is wax, it's going to kind of like bubble up here. It's not going to go through everything. And that just depends on how hard you press your crayon. So if you don't press your crayon hard and you go over it, it's going to cover a lot of it. But if you press hard enough, then it won't go through it all. And it kind of makes the crayon pop out. So now that I have my blue, I'm going to kind of go back and add some yellow. Just a little bit. Kind of like just doing those same lines that I did with my crayon, but with my yellow. Because yellow and blue make green. I'm even going maybe add some red from the red from my bridge. If you used a different color, you could bring that back in. Now I'm going to add a little bit more blue near the back here. Try to make it a little bit darker than the blue in the front. This has to do with space. So things that are further back are going to be darker. And things that are closer up are going to be lighter. All right. You could even add some purple if you wanted to. Purple makes everything a little darker. All right, so now that we have our water done, we're gonna go into the sky, and I made mine like a sun in the sky. So I'm actually gonna do a little bit of yellow in my sky first. It's a little green just because my brush was blue, but that's okay. Maybe I'll add a little bit of blue in there too. If you don't want to make your sky blue, you don't have to. Now, just be careful with your marker. I use a Sharpie, so I know it's not going to bleed. But if you used a Crayola marker and you paint on top of it, it is going to bleed. So just be careful where you put that water. All right, so this is our finished artwork.